Derby Wars, racing's biggest contest site, is now even bigger with more than 200 games every day. Check out Survivor, Derby Wars' hottest new game. It's fun, easy to play, and for just $4 you could win $1,000. Just pick a horse to finish first, second, or third and advance to the next race. With daily payouts and games starting every hour, you'll see why fans are racing to play Survivor.
Welcome to another edition of Horse Center, everyone. I am Brian Zipsey, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm great, Brian, and I want to start the show by thanking some of our Horse Center fans who came by and said hello to me at Parx Racing on Saturday. Love seeing our Horse Center people at the track.
Yes, we do, Matt, and that reminds me what a friendly city Philadelphia is, especially for sporting events. They love to make you feel at home in Philadelphia. I kid, I tease, but of course we love Parx, as we do all our fans. Matt, we got a lot going on. We're going to talk about your day at Parx, and more importantly, the day of some of the biggest names in racing at Parx. But first, let's talk a little bit about next Saturday. We got the number one rated horse, the 2014 Horse of the Year, Kentucky Derby Preakness, Dubai World Cup. I could go on and on. The world's richest all-time horse, California Chrome. He's getting in one more prep, folks, for the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's doing it Saturday, 9 furlongs in the Awesome Again Stakes at Santa Anita. Matt, tell me that California Chrome is beatable in the Awesome Again.
Sorry, Brian. I'm not going to tell you that. We're looking at a small field, and we're looking at Dortmund being the most likely challenger in there, and I give them credit for keeping on and going after California Chrome, but I think Chrome will have the race as he pleases once again.
As he pleases. Now, Matt, remember a couple races back, it was Dortmund's return to racing. It was the San Diego Handicap, and Dortmund gave California Chrome a pretty darn good race. That was 8.5 furlongs. This is 9 furlongs. Of course, since then, the Pacific Classic wasn't nearly as close. By the way, at the time of taping, folks, we don't know for sure that Dortmund is in the Awesome Again. Matt and I both think that he will be. Bob Baffert is being coy once again, as he often does, talking about Dortmund and opportunity, and maybe that they could ship to Churchill or ship to Belmont for other big races. We're guessing that Dortmund is going to be in there. It'll be their third straight meeting. Matt, you don't look back at that San Diego and say, hey, maybe Dortmund on his best has a shot? Every race, no horse is unbeatable, Matt.
You are absolutely right, my friend. No horse is unbeatable. That San Diego was a better race, but I can't play against Chrome. I'm not going to bet Chrome at 1-2 or whatever he's going to be, but I'm sure going to watch the race and enjoy it.
Watch the race and enjoy it. Yeah, that's probably a good game plan, Matt. All reports from Los Al and now he's at Santa Anita are that California Chrome is simply thriving as a very healthy, fully mature 5-year-old. Art Sherman is tickled pink, as he often has been with California Chrome, but maybe now more so than ever. All things look good heading into Saturday's test. All things look great heading into the Breeders' Cup Classic. California Chrome looks to the world to be the best horse in the world. Dortmund, though, if he goes, we're assuming he goes, I think Dortmund is still a threat, especially at 9 furlongs. I think maybe 9 furlongs is a little bit better than the 10 furlongs of the Pacific Classic. And don't forget, Matt, they left California Chrome alone a little bit in that 10 furlong Pacific Classic.
Yep, no question, Brian. I think the shorter distances are going to be better for Dortmund. And if they're looking at the dirt mile for the Breeders' Cup, I like that.
I like that too, Matt, although Baffert's Cup runneth over a little bit with these really good dirt horses. Of course, we're waiting for American Freedom to reemerge after his second in the Haskell and second in the Travers. And of course, he has Arrogate. I don't know if Cupid earned a shot to the Breeders' Cup after the Penn Derby performance, but it'll be interesting. Opportunity. It'll be interesting to see what Baffert does with all these horses in the next 2 weekends, including Dortmund, who we assume is California Chrome's biggest competition. but also Arrogate is going in the Classic after the Travers, a big break. Where does American Freedom go? Where does Dortmund go moving forward? Maybe we're still waiting to see what Dortmund does Saturday.
Yeah, and Brian, if it's okay, that I don't feel sorry for Baffert with his predicament.
Yeah, it's not a bad predicament to have, is it, Matt? He's got a lot of good horses. Good point. Speaking of a lot of good horses, now the Pacific Classic was not just California Chrome and Dortmund Part 2, Round 2. It included, of course, the three-time champion, one of the best American race mares we've had in the last few decades, and that's Beholder. Beholder, though, has not won. This is newfound territory for Beholder. 6 years old, I think she's still got it, but she's coming off a two-race losing streak into Saturday's she's coming into Saturday's Zenyatta off a two-race losing streak, which includes the Clement L. Hirsch and her good race in the Pacific Classic.
Like you said, Brian, it was a very, very good performance in the Pacific Classic. To beat the whole rest of the field and just finish behind California Chrome is not a negative. It's a feather in her cap. That being said, Brian Zipsy, I'm picking Stellar Wind in the Zenyatta.
Matt, I don't blame you. I go back and forth, and I'm going to throw Songbird into this back and forth and back and forth and back. I'll say it 3 times, back and forth mix, because it's very interesting. You have Beholder, the 6-year-old champion, 3-time champion. You got Stellar Wind, last year's 3-year-old champion, who's only had 2 races this year, both against Beholder. 2 really nice split decision. Beholder won the first in the Vanity Mile. Stellar Wind won the second in a really good stretch battle in the Clement L. Hirsch. And then, of course, you got Songbird, who might even be better than both of them, the 3-year-old filly. Never raced against older fillies yet. She'll do that in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. But before that, we get to see Beholder, Stellar Wind, round 3. And looking at the last battle, you have every reason to believe that Stellar Wind can win. Why can she win again, Matt?
I don't know, Brian. I'm giving that win a lot of credit. Stellar Wind beat her the last time. I think Stellar Wind is a horse that can continue to get better. And I think Beholder, she's 6 years old now. This is not a negative statement about her, but we know Beholder. I think Stellar Wind could still be getting better, and she beat her last time. I got to pick someone. I'm picking Stellar Wind.
Good for you, Matt. And I think you'll be on the second choice, where I always appreciate when you pick against the favorite. I'll be rooting for Beholder. For me, it's another good race to watch. Maybe a little bit more betting opportunity in the Zenyatta than there is in the Awesome Again the same day at Santa Anita Saturday. There's also a Baffert horse. We're going to bring up that BB word again, Bob Baffert. Valdoria, I expect. Again, folks, we're waiting for the final entries. We're taping before then. But Valdoria is a very interesting South American who has a very nice history, both in South America, Dubai, and coming off a nice win at Santa Anita. She could throw herself in the mix with a good performance here. I don't expect her to beat the top 2, but she's a very interesting import for Baffert. Stellar Wind's only had 2 races. Matt, I guess I like the fact that Sadler gave her a little break. He knew what his main goal this year, and that was the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So after winning the Clement L. Hirsch in her second race, he gave her some time off to be ready for the Zenyatta and then to be really ready for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Do you like that angle rather than Beholder having a run in the Pacific Classic?
Yeah, I like you said, Brian, I think Sadler has known exactly what he's wanted to do and well planned out, a nice rest. She's going to come out of this race, victory or not, as a horse that's ready for her biggest effort in the distaff. And like you said, Brian, she's going to need it if it's Beholder and Songbird in there.
Both of them, that's a daunting task for sure. I think Stellar Wind, frankly, is a horse who got underappreciated a little last year. Remember how close she came to winning the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year as a 3-year-old without a little trouble from the winner, caused by the winner, Stop Charging Maria. Stellar Wind came that close to winning anyway, but without the trouble, she may have been a Breeders' Cup champion as a 3-year-old last year. And I agree with you, Matt. The Zenyatta as her third race of the year with a little freshening should set her up really nice for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I'm going to give Beholder the slightest of edges on Saturday. I'm kind of rooting that way, but it should be fun. Don't forget about Valdori. All right, Matt, those are probably the two biggest races of a huge weekend coming Saturday. I'll be at Churchill. You'll be at Belmont. Our man Scott Shapiro will be out at Santa Anita, but it's a huge Saturday. We're going to talk more about the races on Saturday, but let's go back. Let's go back to Parx. The Pennsylvania Derby was supposed to crystallize, was supposed to solidify who the best 3-year-olds in the country were at this late date. I don't think it did that, Matt.
No, it certainly didn't. And you know what, Brian? I didn't expect that. I did not expect in any way that the Pennsylvania Derby would give us a clear-cut 3-year-old divisional leader. I did not like Nyquist going into the race. I didn't like Exaggerator going into the race. And then the race was wide open. And that's what happened. Nyquist and Exaggerator both were pretty much non-factors in there. Then it was a tough pick. Which horse was going to step up and get it and connect for Chad Brown? And, hey, why not pick Chad Brown? He's been winning everything else. And Connect is a horse that's getting better. Connect is a horse that both you and I liked earlier in the year when he won the Curlin in a battle against the talented horse Gift Box. Disappointed in the Travers, but he stepped up and ran a big one, and a horse that's talented, a horse that's got a future. And now here we are in the 3-year-old race with the horses that led the division in the first half of the year. And now we got the new shooters with horses like Connect and, of course, Arrogate, who won the Travers and American Freedom. So interesting result to the 3-year-old males coming up.
Yeah, we have no idea who the champion's going to be at this point. It really has been a tale of two halves of the year. I liked Nyquist a little bit better than you. I didn't like Exaggerator. I'm going to use the taping excuse again, Matt. We did not know that Connect was going to be in the Penn Derby at the time of taping last year. Once he was in, Connect was really a horse I did like as a horse with a good chance. We heard nothing but raves about Connect earlier this year. We saw him win an allowance race on Belmont Day. Connect obviously is a very talented horse. Maybe the Travers was a little bit too soon, but clearly he took a lot out of that experience and he moved forward. We got to mention Gunrunner because Gunrunner's been probably the most consistent 3-year-old from start to finish this year. He ran another good race to be a pretty narrowly beaten second. Connect announced himself with a big win, rich win, should be a grade 1 race, the Pennsylvania Derby. But now, as I see it, it was probably the 5th best 3-year-old race of the year, Matt. Kentucky Derby went to Nyquist, the Preakness went to Exaggerator, the Belmont went to Creator, the Travers went to Arrogate, and now the Pennsylvania Derby, because of the field, because of the purse, I think it was a grade 1 level race. I would call that the 5th best 3-year-old race, and now we had a 5th different winner in Connect. Arrogate was the most impressive of any of the 5. I rate him as the top 3-year-old, but I don't see how he can win an Eclipse Award with only 1 stakes win. Who knows who's going to be 3-year-old champion, man?
Yeah, and what makes it and what makes that picture even murkier is that a lot of horses that you mentioned right now are saying that they're looking at the Classic, and that means they all have the daunting task of trying to beat California Chrome.
Yeah. California Chrome is number 1 on my list. Frosted's number 2. Arrogate I would put number 3, but Chrome's the one to beat. Whether they go dirt mile, some of these 3-year-olds are Classic. I think that makes a difference, but don't expect the dirt mile to be a heck of a lot easier for any of these 3-year-olds, Matt. Matt, speaking of easy, Songbird, 11 races. I think I told you after her maiden win last year that she was something good. 10 stakes wins, 10 graded stakes wins later. I'm still trying to tell you that she's something good, Matt.
Well, you know what? But every race, there's somebody that is saying, oh, okay, it's going to be Karina Mia. Oh, Brian Zipsey says it's going to be Catherine Sophia that is going to be is going to push her. Well, guess what? Brian. It never happens.
It never happens, Matt.
Maybe they're a little close going down the backstretch and a little close going in the turn, but as soon as it's time to do her thing, going around the clubhouse turn, forget it. It's all Songbird, and nothing was different. Karina Mia is without question now the second best 3-year-old filly, and normally that's not a great thing, but when you're second best to Songbird, that's not so bad. Catherine Sophia was a little bit disappointing.
Catherine Sophia was definitely a disappointment for me. I kind of looked at the race where I thought that she would be the one to lay off a little bit, and she did, and I consider that an advantage. And for her to not even have any running at the top of the stretch as the top two pulled away in staggered fashion, with Songbird just pulling away from Karina Mia. And Karina Mia, in fact, pulling away from Catherine Sophia, was a disappointment for the Kentucky Oaks winner. It's a disappointment enough where I think that both of those fillies, Karina Mia, the second best 3-year-old filly in the country, as you say, and Catherine Sophia, should now be pointed for the 7-furlong Breeders' Cup filly mare sprint. I think that just makes a lot more sense for them. I think in one race for Catherine Sophia and 2 races for Karina Mia, they've proven that they can't run with Songbird. I don't like their chances against Stellar Wind and or Beholder. Both of them, I think, would have a chance in the 7-furlong filly mare sprint, though.
Yeah, Brian, and hey, that's no surprise. I mean, I think we've all kind of felt that about both Karina Mia and Catherine Sophia, that they were one-turn kind of horses, whether it's a one-turn mile or 7 furlongs. So I think ultimately this isn't any surprise, but when you're getting blown away by Songbird, she makes you look not that good when you're actually a couple of very, very nice horses.
Yeah, Matt. And it's interesting for me, Songbird has been just so dominant from the first race of her life all the way through the Cotillion, which I thought was one of her most impressive races on Saturday. She's just been so dominant in all these races. It's hard to know really how good she is. Obviously, she's a great filly. I remember Ruffian. I remember Rachel Alexandra. I'll throw in Genuine Risk, Go for Juan, maybe even Winning Colors as just fantastic 3-year-old fillies. I have a hard time knowing where to put Songbird. Do I put her up with Ruffian and Rachel Alexandra, the two that I thought were the best that I ever saw as far as 3-year-old fillies? Probably it looks that way, but she does have the stigma of never racing against older horses or males, either one. Of course, Rachel did it all the time as a 3-year-old. So the distaff really defines, is she one of the great 3-year-old fillies we've seen in the last 20 years? Or maybe she's one of the greatest 3-year-old fillies of all time. And we'll find out more come November 4, Friday, November 4th, Santa Anita, when she faces 2 really good older mares.
Right. And I think it's that time, right, as you said, in the distaff. And after the race, for the first time, owner Rick Porter, who was at the race and enjoying the victory, for the first time he said, next year I will speak to Mr. Hollendorfer about running against the boys. So everybody put that aside for this year. But next year, Mr. Porter said she'll go after the boys.
She'll go after the boys, and it only makes sense. If she's going to stay in training, I think we all want to see her, put to the ultimate challenge. This is a sport. Sometimes we forget this is a sport. And, sports are about facing the challenge and running against the best. She'll get a chance with, like I said, those 2 wonderful mares in the Breeders' Cup, but then the males next year. And, of course, everybody wants to know, well, when will that come, Mr. Porter? Are we talking Pegasus in January? Are we talking Breeders' Cup at the end of the year, or somewhere in between? It's going to be interesting, Matt. As will so many races on Saturday, October 1. You'll be at Belmont, Matt. I think we're talking Forever Unbridled in the Beldame against Off the Tracks. We're talking Flintshire and Money Multiplier. Another big day at Belmont Park, the start of the Super Saturdays. What are you looking forward to seeing Saturday at Belmont, Matt?
Well, the superstars, of course, Flintshire. But, the 2 sprints on the card are interesting. We got some horses coming back. In the Vosburg, it looks like AP Indian's going to be there, but XY Jet is coming back. And in the Gallant Bloom, we got the unbeaten 3-year-old filly Lucy and Ethel going to step up and face older horses like Waverly Avenue and Stonetastic in there. So all kinds of interesting things in this big first pre-Super Saturday at Belmont, because we got another one coming next weekend.
Yeah, it should be fun. The next 2 weekends at Belmont, I think next weekend is even bigger. But this Saturday, I think XY Jet was just fantastic. The first quarter of the year, I think people forget how good he really was earlier in the year. So it's great to see him coming back in a tough Osberg test. I don't think Lucy and Ethel will keep her undefeated string going when she faces tough older mares in the Gallant Bloom. Flintshire, don't forget about Money Multiplier. I think it's better than people think, so that could be a little bit interesting for Flintshire. And what am I forgetting, Matt? XY Jet and, I guess Forever Unbridled. Yeah, I think she's my best bet of the day. I think she's going to beat the older males in the Beldam. I'll be at Churchill Downs. Another horse returning, of course, maybe the biggest return is Run Happy, Matt, the Breeders' Cup Sprint Champion. The Sprint Champion of last year. He's only lost once lifetime. He's been working great, and he'll be right here at Churchill for the ACAC. I don't think he's facing much on Saturday, though.
Well, that's fine, because I think we're all happy that Run Happy is going to be coming back, Brian.
That's right. A really special horse returning and getting ready for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Second race back is going to be the Breeders' Cup, so that'll be interesting. Folks, thanks again for watching Horse Center. We love to have you every week. We love doing the show. We love seeing you, as Matt said, at the track. Thank you to our sponsor, the best contest site out there, Derby Wars. Matt, parting shots from you today?
Hey, we got a busy weekend. We got a busy Saturday, Brian Zipsy, at Horse Racing Nation, but that's the way you and I like it.
Absolutely. We want to thank our producer, Brett, the Hitman Workman, for coming in and doing such a good job with the show. And thank you, folks, for watching every week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Brett.